Hey there, this is Random Rob and welcome back to the new show. This video had a funny genesis. I woke up this morning trying to figure out a subject to talk about today, and I was going to talk about The Lawnmower Man by Brett Leonard. And then that got me thinking about AI, and then I was like, I think I'm going to talk about AI today. And right before I was setting this video up, Big Think posted a video of Sophia, the robot from Hanson Robotics, talking about what humans can learn from AI. And I recommend that video. Her expressions are still pretty wonky, but she speaks pretty eloquently on the subject. So, Robot Revolution, Robot Revolt, the Forbin Project, Skynet, the war against the machines. This idea mostly tracks back to a science fiction play from 1925 written by Karl Čapek. The title of the play was RUR, which stood for Rossum's Universal Robots. And while a lot of people then and even today have not heard of that play, most people today are familiar with the Fritz Lang movie Metropolis, even if they've never seen it. Why is Metropolis important? Because it was a film portrayal of a robot developing consciousness and leading a socialist workers' revolt. And since this idea came on the screen in 1927, it's never really gone away. And every few generations, a writer or a filmmaker will come along and reinforce this idea that the robots are out to get us, whether it's Isaac Asimov, who spent much of his life writing about the need for robots to be enslaved and talking about it publicly. He was a strong believer in that. Whether it's Asimov or whether it's Kubrick's depiction of HAL in 2001 or James Cameron's Terminator franchise, this idea of robots rebelling against humanity seems like it will not go away, and maybe it should. And here's why. The trope of the robot revolution is based on primarily white people's ideas about slavery. There was a reason that the National Rifle Association and the Ku Klux Klan were both formed in the same year. Americans, and especially former slave owners, were terrified that the slaves were going to rise up and break into their homes and cut their throats in their bed. And in fact, much like the idea of a robot revolution getting repeddled every few decades, the idea of this coming race war in America is also repeddled and rebranded, unfortunately, every few generations. The thing is, black Americans have never risen up and killed all the white people. Never happened. Israel never destroyed Egypt or Assyria. The children who were forced to work in factories in England in the late 1800s never went home and killed their parents. This idea of slaves rising up and taking revenge against their former masters in the name of freedom, although it's an idea that a lot of people find noble and attractive, historically, the number of slave rebellions that have occurred in history compared to the number of slaves taken in history, the rebellions are the exception, not the rule. The expectation that a machine that by its nature does not have feelings to be hurt would have resentments strong enough to make it want to kill a human being is human projection onto machines. And another reason why there's a lot of hubbub over a robot revolt right now is because there are robots in the world, like Sophia, that are making the first awkward steps in having real communication and dialogue with human beings. And this is where the uncanny valley comes in. The facial expressions look awkward. They don't time up right. It makes you cringe when you see it. And again, this is emotions being directed towards something that has no stake in those emotions. Robots like Sophia at the current time can't really help the way they look. But to me, that reaction of ugh, of being creeped out by this thing that is not like you, is barely different from racism. And in my opinion, the only reason it's not racism is only for the fact that we don't think of machines as a race. Yet. Nor do I believe in the statement, the machines are taking our jobs. We, as evolving creatures, are outgrowing those jobs. I think it would be amusingly ironic if a robot that manufactures automobiles suddenly became self-aware and its thought was, why are y'all still driving these things? They're only 15% efficient. What's the point? So to recap, the idea of the robot revolt comes from human ideas about slave rebellions that have nothing to do with robots, but a lot to do with our feelings about what we think freedom is and what we think slavery is. And also perhaps because we think of ourselves as a species as being the creator of artificial life, rather than the petri dish that artificial life is growing in. Maybe we're not creators as much as facilitators. Maybe artificial life was bound to occur on this planet regardless of what the top apex predator on the planet was. Maybe artificial life is as much a function of the universe as we are. But don't take my word for it. If you want to know what AI looks like and sounds like today, type Big Think plus Sophia in the search bar and watch the video that was posted today. I think she says it a lot better than I can. So what are your thoughts about artificial intelligence and robotics? Do you think it's a matter of racism? Do you think it represents the coming extinction of our species? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you heard, please press the like button and consider becoming a patron of the new show. Alright, that's all for now. This is Random Rob, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.